And welcome to the second part of the Horizon Roundtable Fan Battle Royale. I guess maybe Jimmy was right because the first episode was an outstanding conversation. Very little blood was spilled, so that's always helpful. I'm Bob McDonald. I am your host. I can be reached at Bob McDonald on Twitter. And just a quick recap of the folks who are on with me, the fans who are there. We have Brian Dickman from Green Bay, at Brian Chad Knodel, fan from Milwaukee, Chris Hart, representing Northern Kentucky, Olier Anderson, representing UIC, Ricky Redinger, sorry, Ricky, from Wright State, Matt Dudek from Oakland, Carrick Jones from Oakland, and somewhere muffled in the back is John Durda from Cleveland State.
I'm not from Oakland.
I'm sorry, you're not from Oakland.
Yeah.
Oh my!
Get it right.
Well,
Turkey only wishes he was from Oakland.
Detroit Mercy.
I've never attended public school in my life, and I was flying.
Yeah, crap. All right, so one of the things I'm looking at here. Okay. So as we talked about last week. I say last week because it's because this is probably going to be airing the week of the week after the first episode. We had a discussion about a lot of different things. We talked about the Detroit situation. We talked about fan interaction with players. The one thing and I talked kind of about the future of Motor City Madness, but the one thing we did not talk about the first episode that I really want to discuss is, I don't know if you noticed, but we have this glaring lack of IUPUI representative. Not necessarily their fault, but I did want them to be here because I'm sure we all have some opinions about them being in the league. Don't we?
Terrible.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to start. I have strong opinions on this because we were in the Summit League. They came over. I'm used to them from the Summit League, and I was not excited about them. I thought we were going to get Fort Wayne, which would have been helpful for baseball and all that. But after watching the basketball season, I'm a big fan of following the Commissioner's Cup, even though a lot of you guys like to pretend it doesn't matter for anything. Why are we hating on IUPUI?
You mean the McCafferty Trophy?
That's the one. Yeah, that one. Why are we hating on IUPUI? They're middle of the league. I mean, there's a whole lot worse things going on than IUPUI. They just need a fan base and they get get that side of it together. But sports-wise, they're not anywhere near as bad as we want them to be. And if anything, it makes the Horizon look bad.
The main thing is obviously their name. I think that's the one thing that ticks people off. Granted, the athletics, because they're top 3, top 4 in the McCafferty Trophy running. So overall, they're not bad. They have a great women's soccer program. Women's basketball program is not bad. They have no baseball, that was another problem.
That was and I'm glad you brought that up, Olier, because that is a huge issue I have just with that. I know the last episode, Jimmy and I had talked a little bit about IUPUI, and I know I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of it. I thought it was just kind of a last-minute panic ad, and I know I can't be the only one who was completely bagging on this pick. I thought they were going to be crap in men's basketball, and they were going to bring everybody down. And what do? They finish in 5th place.
Well, I didn't think that because
they still didn't
the year before they came
in Division I, though.
I'm sorry?
They didn't win a Division I non-conference game, if I remember correctly. No, you're
confusing IUPUI with the YSU.
Oh, Youngstown. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No. Now that I'm as somebody who follows very closely a team in the bottom half of the Horizon League standings this year, I have no leg to stand on at this point.
I didn't think IUPUI was going to be bad this year because before they came to the league, they finished in the middle of the pack in the Summit. So I'm sorry, their record that they had would have put them in the middle of the league in the Horizon League, and that's pretty much where they finished. So I didn't think they were going to be a bottom feeder, and I think people were just stuck on it was a last minute decision. And their name, which is petty, but that was a problem too. Their name and no baseball.
Very petty.
Well, the baseball's a big deal, though.
It is.
That's because, and myself being a Wright State fan, I follow Wright State baseball about as close as I do basketball. So that's a big deal for me. I mean, that's, we could lose a bid down the road, and that's tough. So I hope they have a backup plan for that.
And one of the things that I to the last point about IUPUI finishing in the middle of the Summit League, that's true, though. Although I did, when they came in, they had, if I'm not mistaken, they had lost their top 3 scorers from the previous year. So my expectations for IUPUI was low. Of course, my expectations for the rest of the league should have been lower.
And that's where that parity came in, because it was as if they were just sliding over instead of moving up at this point, because the trajectory of the Horizon League was just going down.
Flatline.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be as big of a dumpster fire as it was, but when you have 2 assistant coaches not listening to the head coach, that generally tends to be a dumpster fire.
I mean, if I'm IUPUI, I'm kind of pissed that I'm in the Horizon now. They downgraded, at least in men's basketball. They downgraded.
Yeah, because the Summit League has been better than the Horizon RPI wise for the last 2, and this year makes it 3 years. So, wow, you're right about that. They should be pissed now.
But they're saving so much money on travel.
They absolutely are.
Did any of you guys see that hot take by the one IUPUI fan on Twitter who said he wanted the University of Indianapolis to go away so they could take their name?
Where is that guy? Because I was trying to find him for the podcast.
Yeah, where did he
disappear off the planet?
He was really entertaining.
Yeah, he was. He was very entertaining.
Was he also the guy who had the hot take of Cleveland State and Youngstown State shouldn't be in the league anymore?
Yeah, I think so.
And that was right after, and that was right, I remember that vividly. He was. Where was that guy? Where is that guy? I would have loved to have him on the podcast with you guys. But
in all fairness, Jimmy's wanted Youngstown out of the conference for 10 years.
Yes, really. That is very true. That's a whole other thing. I was really hoping that, that one is, well, I can't. As somebody who desperately, as I mentioned this multiple times, as somebody who desperately wants a Cleveland State Youngstown State rival that isn't a race to the bottom, I can't have them suck anymore. I can't have Youngstown State suck anymore. I can't have Cleveland State suck, but I definitely do not need to have, it can't be a race to the bottom. And sadly, that's kind of what happened this year. I mean, really. It was change. Change is going to happen like that. I mean, you had a bunch of the previous coaches' players, and they were not going to be running. What's the coach's name? I forget his name. Jared Calhoun.
Yeah, Calhoun. He didn't have the players to run the system. That's why everybody's transferring, or he much asked them to find some other place to go.
You're not wrong.
So he can bring in players. I think Cleveland State showed that they're turning the program around. So by those 2 quote unquote bottom feeders getting better, I think the league as a whole will get better. So I think
it was kind of just down this year. I mean, down as down you can get. Like you mentioned, IUPUI probably cheated themselves by leaving the Summit and coming to the Horizon. Seriously, I mean, for like I said, for as much piss and vinegar as we had with regards to the Horizon League and getting an IUPUI, I mean, they finished in the top half of the league, and that you can't really say anything other than, man, I wish I had one of their fans on this podcast right now.
Yeah. Well, IUPUI can't be too mad about being in the Horizon League because they're going to get all the benefits of having the league office in their backyard.
Man, you're right about that.
You think?
Yeah, look at Lacrone. He's always hanging out on campus. doing things with them. I mean, he was. If you even watch the press conference, the dude was like, "My goodness, I am so glad I've got IUPUI in the league." He was doing backflips. It was so amazing.
He did.
I'd never seen him do a press conference like that for any other school that they invited into the league. This guy was just, oh my goodness, like it was a real marriage.
Well, if you think about it for a second, I mean, at some point in time, the Horizon League schools, if they didn't bring in IUPUI, they're going to look at the Horizon League being in Indianapolis and saying, nobody's there. That's one of our member schools. Maybe you should think about moving somewhere else. I'm sure that's why he was over the moon about that.
Yeah, could have been.
Wouldn't doubt it. I don't know. I think it's one of those things where it's, but one of the things with IUPUI coming in, the Horizon League is now at 10 schools. And as you all remember, when IUPUI came in, we had this, we were all collectively at our respective message boards and whatnot. We, blogs, whatever. We were all having this conversation about expanding the Horizon League. And then Motor City Madness came this year, and Lacrone said, we're good with 10 schools for now. So, for as much discussion as we had, does it seem to anybody else that we got for as much discussion as as was had about potentially expanding to to a 12-team conference? I mean,
wait. He said this at this past Motor City Madness. He said we're staying at 10.
Yes, for the time being, they're not expanding for now.
I missed that. Are you
waiting
serious?
for the next Power 5 domino?
Yes, and if I think it was Tony Paul who had tweeted this out about he actually had a story about this because he was doing all the Motor City Madness coverage. Outstanding Detroit news. Follow Tony Paul if you want. Was it
Tony's great?
1984 on Twitter. Love to have him on the podcast at some point, but he did mention the fact that they're staying at 10. Lacrone's not a fan of associate members, even though he's got Belmont as a soccer member. But
not anymore. They're done.
Are they now? Oh, yeah, wow. I missed that.
This was their last season. They're going to the Southern. They're going to the Southern League now, so they're done.
That makes sense. But he doesn't. Yeah, no wonder he doesn't like associate members because they're all even Belmont's leaving them. But the big thing with that is you still have a situation on the baseball side where you don't have that many teams now, and it is. I'm trying to wrap my head around why that's not being discussed more.
Because they still have 6 teams, and you're fine until you get to 5. As long as you have 6 teams, you still have your AQ. But once you go below 6 to 5, then you can petition the NCAA. But right now they're okay.
Okay.
But what happens when a team leaves suddenly? I mean, haven't we seen that already?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my concern with the baseball bid is that's all I looked at it as, and that's if they lose that bid, I'll be pissed. I mean, I'd be pretty hot.
But think about it.
Sure.
The teams that they were talking about expanding with in the first place didn't even have baseball. IUPUI, Robert Morris, those 2 teams didn't even have baseball. So what were they looking for anyway? It's ridiculous when baseball is our second sport.
Right. But I know UIC too. I mean, it's obviously has shown a fantastic baseball program in the last few years. I mean, that's frustrating, and the league's improving in that sport. And that's if you lose a bid. I mean, I just don't see how that hasn't been thought out better.
Right.
So why aren't schools like Mercy fielding a baseball team? I mean, I guess I know Mercy, but in general,
because they invested. Well, here's the thing you guys have to understand, and this is coming from someone who works in competitive athletics. Baseball's not growing. And you look at the Horizon League.
Baseball's not what?
It's not growing.
It is not in vogue to play baseball if you're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, unless you're very good. It's just not. And if they go at a Robert Morris, you already got 2 schools with lacrosse. Lacrosse is growing like crazy. There's inner city lacrosse programs now. It costs slightly less money, not much more. The insurance is higher. They're probably not going to field baseball in 10 years because it's not trending that way. You look at high school baseball, participation's way down because either sports don't line up where it's not the number 1 sport in the spring, or kids are playing lacrosse. It's been like this since I was in 6th or 7th grade, and it's gotten far worse now that I'm pushing 25.
Now, to your point, and coming from as part of a school who knowing where Cleveland State was with its own baseball team, it was a little different situation. I mean, it was a consistent money loser, and to make matters worse, Cleveland State did not have a venue on campus. They were, for the entire whole of their existence as a program at Cleveland State, were nomadic.
Well, and I think that's. I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
No, that's fine. No, they were playing. They were at certain points in time during their existence. They were playing in Lorain, my hometown, by the way, which is cool. Except it's 30 miles away from campus.
Yeah, that's.
Right.
I mean, that's where they were at, and and they were not paying, and they were paying like $1 a year for rent. But again, it was there wasn't a commitment to that program. And then about year 1 or 2, year 2 of the John Perry era, he decided it was a money loser, and it's we got to cut ties with that, and that's what happened. And then of course 4 or 5 years later, he brings in lacrosse.
Right. Well, and I say this, I mean, Wright State has invested so much money in the baseball program. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I'll say another one, UIC has done a fantastic job with their stadium. I went up for a doubleheader last year, and that is an unbelievable facility. So I know there's a couple schools. I don't know I can't speak for the rest of the league, but I know UIC definitely shown great dedication.
Yeah, and I just need someone to explain to me what's the difference cost-wise or whatever between getting rid of the baseball and keeping women's soccer. I mean, I know they say in Green Bay it's too cold, but you still have softball. I'm sorry, not soccer, softball. What's the difference? Are the costs, are they comparative? Why get rid of baseball but keep softball?
Softball in Cleveland State's case, softball actually had a venue on campus. And so that's.
But overall, in a lot of the programs, Detroit got rid of they got rid of baseball, but they kept softball. So the teams that have softball,
Title IX.
Okay, yeah. There you go. Okay.
Somebody had to say it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of it, though, for sure.
So.
And you also have to look at for why people probably aren't keeping baseball or not investing as much money in it. The amount of travel costs associated with college baseball and softball, especially in the Midwest. You have to understand they're playing games in late February and March, and they're having to travel to hot weather and house all those student athletes for days at a time, pay for all their meals on the road.
That's true. Yeah.
It'd be a no-brainer to go lacrosse over baseball just because I can play lacrosse in the Midwest at an indoor turf facility or outside in February.
And that's exactly what Cleveland State does. They've got that dome over Krensler Field, and that's what they do every year. I mean, that's what they do every year. And as you mentioned, it's one of the now obviously the Horizon League is not in the business of lacrosse, so
not yet, but it looks it looked like it's trending that way though.
It might be, and which would be nice because right now,
if Oakland gets lacrosse, it's over and it'll be a lacrosse conference because Oakland could be ridiculous at lacrosse, given the schools that surround them.
We could play it next
the
week
B
if we
and C
needed to.
kids. Yeah, they could get the B and C kids from Birmingham and Rochester, and they'd be good.
No.
I mean, I don't keep up with lacrosse. I'm sorry, I don't keep up with lacrosse. How many players are on the lacrosse team? You talked about baseball and housing them. How many players?
Anywhere from 50 to 100.
Yeah.
And 90% of them aren't scholarship athletes. Well, no, I would say probably 20% aren't scholarship athletes. No one has a full ride.
No.
And it's all kind of pieced together.
Yeah, because I know I'm trying. I've lost. This is how much I pay attention because I know Cleveland State has a lacrosse team, and I know they've and the other but I couldn't tell you how many people are on their roster. I'm such an awesome alumni.
He's got 40 or 50 right now, I think. But when I covered the team, 2 years back, it was around that, and they were from all over the country. I mean, it was mainly Midwest, but we had a lot of kids from New York. They're recruiting Texas pretty hard right now. New Jersey.
Now let me ask you guys this: how many Horizon League programs have club lacrosse? Because myself, I'm actually the head coach of my alma mater for our lacrosse program, and I played a year of club at Wright State, and then the team folded, and we couldn't get any interest. And granted, club's a little different from varsity, but is there interest at the other schools?
There was interest at Cleveland State in club lacrosse before they even had lacrosse, so it was kind of a next natural progression. Plus,
I don't believe Milwaukee has any lacrosse at all.
Yeah, I don't think USC does either. I don't know about.
I'm not sure about Green Bay either.
Yeah, I don't know about
plays
USC.
it with the men and the women.
At the club level for women too.
Yeah, again, as Kirky was kind of saying, we've got some really strong program. We could field a varsity level club probably in a week if we wanted to.
Oh yeah,
well, your club football program is incredible too. I mean that club program is fantastic.
It's true, and if you haven't seen, we got a football facility on campus within the past couple of years, and it's actually really nice. I wouldn't be surprised if we start looking towards football if the hockey thing that was playing out doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, I played club football at Wright State too, so we've definitely seen that before, and it's fantastic. I mean, that's fantastic to see the universities invested in that.
So. I know this, I know it sounds like expansion is not happening anytime soon with the Horizon League, but theoretically, if we do get to a point where that is back on the table, and honestly, because it's a down year, I wouldn't see why we'd even be in a buyer's market on that anyway. But if you're looking at expansion, where do you think that would go in terms of expansion? Are we going to pick apart more from? Are we going to pick
Robert
apart?
Morris?
I'm sorry, what?
Robert Morris, New Mexico State, Grand Canyon.
No.
I don't think they're going to increase the footprint that much.
No.
I mean, with travel costs would be unbelievable for those. I mean, are we just talking basketball or are we talking for conference wide?
I'm talking, this would have to be conference wide.
Then, that's tough. You get, you're talking about women's soccer and you're talking about tennis and all that traveling out there or vice versa, having those programs come here for league tournaments.
There's a reason we left the summit.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm looking at, and this is, and what I look at is I'm actually looking, it's pretty, I'm looking actually at Gonzaga right now, because right now they're in the West Coast Conference and there's all kinds of rumors about them going to the Midwest Conference because, I'm sorry, the Mountain West Conference. And that would potentially lead for a school probably out of the WAC, probably a Grand Canyon, maybe Seattle, I don't know. But we're looking at it from a standpoint of the WAC is probably going to implode within the next 2 or 3 years.
You have to look how many Jesuit schools are in the WAC that aren't named Gonzaga. I wouldn't be so sure. And
no. The West Coast Conference isn't going anywhere. They got St. Mary's and they got,
No, he's talking about the WAC.
I'm talking about the WAC.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about what's left of the WAC, because right now you have the WAC, because you got Chicago State. There's debate of whether or not they're even going to be Division I for too much longer.
What about Detroit Mercy? I'm sorry, what?
Dude. I mean, you have UMKC, who, every other year there's a rumor of them going back to the Summit League. You have Grand Canyon and New Mexico State, who probably have been wanting to get out of the WAC since it just turned to crap. And any California school is going to want to go to like the Big West or something, because Bakersfield's going to the Big West in 2020. So. But with that said, to the other point, the issue that I see with Grand Canyon and New Mexico State, again, is that travel? I mean, yes, right now Grand Canyon has money up the wazoo, but that's the nature of of what they do. But is that money that if they say in the off chance they actually end up in the Horizon League, and I'm not saying that they will, but in the off chance that happens, I mean, are they the ones going to be footing the bill to compensate for the massive amounts of money it's going to take to travel to Arizona for everything?
Even if they were, I mean, it's a straight flight. It's not like they have layovers or exchange flights. True. It's a straight shot. So it's not like, and it's the cost is not inexorbitant. Just get on a plane, straight shot to Chicago, or most of our cities are big cities or near big airports. Mm-hmm. They fly right to the places, bus it to the school, get back on the bus, and get that straight air shot back home. So it's not, and if we were to expand, if we were to expand, now you expand, you're gonna to make costs even more reasonable. You're probably going to go to divisions. So now you're only flying to Phoenix and New Mexico every other year. You're not going to do it every year. They'll fly in one year. We fly out there the following year. So I don't see the real big cost in it.
But and probably not so much to the Grand Canyon point, but to the New Mexico State point. What exactly would be their benefit other than getting out of the whack, which is imploding?
None now. And that's one of the reasons. So I don't know what Lacron is talking about. The reason we're not expanding, the reason we're not expanding is nobody wants to come here anymore. We're the 20-something rated conference now. We're not 10, 11, or 12 anymore. So we don't look as good as we used to. So we're not expanding because we're not buyers any longer.
Nope.
So until we get back to where we were before, or right after Butler left, because when Butler left, we still were pretty decent. But until we get back to being a top 12 conference, nobody's going to want to come here anymore. And like someone mentioned before, look at IUPUI. They're probably kicking themselves about now. So even the Ohio Valley is ahead of us. And that rarely, if ever, happens. So this league has lost a lot of prestige. And with that, the thought of inviting other schools.
That's true.
The only one that would want to come now is Fort Wayne, and that's only because of geography, because they're the outlier in the summit. They want to get out of that because of geography. They're the only still want to
Southern Indiana is coming to Division I.
Right. It wouldn't be bad.
It worked for Northern Kentucky. Why can't it? No, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I don't want. And that's one of the things I'm looking at right now is that I guess the question that I pose to all of you is: has the Horizon League? I mean, have we gotten to a point where the Horizon League has turned into what I always associated with the Atlantic Sun Conference, kind of that way station to something better?
Yes, I would agree with that.
And if that is the case, what needs to change in order for that to stop happening? Or is it just never going to – or are we now at a point where this conference is going to keep bringing people in and watching people leave? Is that just going to be the dynamic from here on? Has that always been the dynamic and will always be the dynamic? I'm thinking yes. Because you've seen –
I disagree.
Well, I mean, at some point, the conferences above us are going to stop adding teams. I mean, this isn't going to go on forever.
I think the Horizon will bounce back. I mean, we've got new coaches that have good philosophies. Granted, they still have previous tenure players that they're moving on, and I think the league will get better. It's going to take some time. Again, I go back to Cleveland State. It took them some time to to find themselves. But as we saw in the tournament, they can be pretty decent. Calhoun is getting rid of a lot of players. He's bringing in players that can play his system. Brandon is still bringing in 3-star players. Even our coach, McLean, he's got some decent players. Our players next year, our stars, they're just going to still be juniors. So I think the league will bounce back. I don't know how much of a leap they'll take next year, but I think the pieces are in place. They just have to stay the course, continue to recruit good players, play tough out-of-conference schedules, and the office really has to work on that. Play tough OOCs and win some of those games. So when conference play comes around, playing each other, if we happen to not be as strong, won't drop the RPIs. We have to focus on building within instead of depending on bringing in teams like a GCU or New Mexico State. We have to do it from within. But I think we can improve.
When did we change our tune about scheduling tough out of conference? Because when Oakland came in, that was our calling card. All we got was slack from everybody about how stupid we were for our scheduling. And now here's everybody saying, "Hey, that's how we need to schedule." When did that happen?
You were right about that. You were right. You guys did a great job, I thought. It was just winning. That's all. Schedule tough, but win. I agreed with Oakland's philosophy.
I agreed with it to an extent. I agreed to be right up until the point where Michigan State kicked the crap out of Cleveland State by 50. But
that was
your RPI. But your RPI was strong, though. You got your butt whooped. You got a nice check, but your RPI was strong. It didn't plummet 30 points.
No.
Especially when you win and you still lose RPI points. That's ridiculous. We have to do a better job than that.
So the question I posed to all of you, to that point, is the Horizon League better next year? Does the Horizon League improve from where it was this year? Have we officially hit bottom?
No.
Finally.
No, I don't think so.
Explain. I'm curious because I
personally think that Cleveland State will be better.
Thank you. That's what I hope too.
Yep. I actually think that we will be better than we were. I think we'll have a winning record next year overall. Oakland will be Oakland. Northern Kentucky will still be strong. Wright State will still be strong. Green Bay, I don't know what Brian thinks, but I would think they'd be better than they were this year. But Youngstown will be Youngstown. And they'll always be the anchor until proven otherwise.
You really so even with Calhoun, putting his system in, you still think that Youngstown's still at the bottom of the league?
I still think they'll be in the 300s in RPI. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What makes them struggle though? Because they have such a great high school hotbed of talent up there in Northeast Ohio.
Who wants to stay in Northeast Ohio?
Well,
hey, kiss my ass.
The high school programs aren't as strong as they once were. I mean, if you look at even like the top 100, Ohio's down, it seems, too.
You still have St. V's. You still have your Cleveland schools. I mean,
yeah. The one thing what's interesting, my I can't even call my alma mater anymore. It's Lorraine High School. They were in the state championships, and that's not even. I don't even know what that high school is. That's not the school I went to. My youth is destroyed. So anyway, but the talent is there. I think the issue has always been within Northeast Ohio. You're always going to have at least 4 or 5 different schools. At least 4 different regional schools: Cleveland State, Akron, Kent State, Youngstown State, and then whatever MAC schools are in. What other MAC schools can feed at the trough of that? And then the end all be all of human existence in anywhere in Northeast Ohio is Ohio State. I don't know what to tell you, but I really and I really think that, I mean, I mean, Carrick, Matt, we can always still keep getting people from Michigan.
We talked about this.
That seems to have worked out pretty well.
You can have most of them. There's not a ton. I mean, after Michigan and Michigan State pick through, then we're kind of left
the first time around. And keep in mind, they can always have dibs on second. Bryn Forbes kind of proved that.
Well, he sure loved it there so much he left.
Yes, I know. Again, second time around.
I mean, we've got a kid coming in, Maddox, from Novi High School, which it's a great recruit, and I'm glad that we grabbed him. But there's just not that much in the area right now.
No,
it's slim.
So
going back to what Chad was saying,
when you look at kids that are going to play for 4 years, whether it be academics or transferring.
So,
can I piggyback on what Chad was saying about some teams getting better?
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the teams he mentioned. Milwaukee will get better, and NKU, WSU. I do believe UIC will be better. Cleveland State will be better, and even IUPUI. They had a guy that redshirted this season that was a transfer. The guy was a 4-star player, so I think they'll even be better. And if you've got 6 or 7 of the 10 teams that are better, and hopefully if they can win some of these out-of-conference games, that bodes well for the conference as a whole. Granted, I'm not saying we're going to take the leap like the Missouri Valley did after Wichita State left. They still finished in the top 10. I think they were number 8 this season. So, but I do believe that the Horizon League will improve. It's just going to take a little time. We won't be 25, 26, 27 for much longer.
Any other thoughts on, does the Horizon League get better next year?
Yeah, if you look at 2014, when the first year without Butler, we were still a top 15 conference, and that's because we didn't have all these anchors. This year, including Green Bay, we had like 4 or 5 schools that were 300 RPI plus. And, we just got to pick up the anchors. Green Bay is 300 plus in the RPI for the first time ever. And, it was the first time since 2003 we had a 20-loss season. Only the third time since 1987 that we've been above 200 in the RPI. So, I mean, I'm really hoping that this was a fluke year and Green Bay will be better. And you guys mentioned that the top of the league looks pretty good. We just got to pick up the bottom. And it looks like Cleveland State's, trending in the right direction, and UIC definitely trending in the right direction. Yeah. So we got to get Youngstown figured out. Detroit Mercy, who knows what the heck's going on there, but we got to get these things figured out.
Addition to Division 2.
Yeah.
Can they switch with Ferris State?
Wow.
When's the last time Mercy beat Wayne State?
Oh, wow.
But it's true.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
Can't even be GLEAC champs.
Oh, geez. Wow. We're into Division 2 talk now. I couldn't even name three Division 2 teams. I'm sure there's a bunch of them in my area. So Matt, one question I did have for you, Matt. Oakland with, I'm going to I got to ask, Oakland, so many high hopes this last season and none of them came true.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me preface it. I'm not very well liked in the Oakland circle right now because I'm very much a realist about OU. And I feel that Campy sold us a lemon car. We thought this car was going to be great. It looked great. The preseason top 25 poll, we were ranked ahead of Michigan. I think we were 20. I don't remember what I think we were receiving votes in the preseason poll, and that we were ahead of Michigan. Kendrick Nunn coming in, Jalen Hayes, all these redshirt seniors. It was great. The injury thing looks like a fluke. I feel actually really bad. This was our first year without Tom Ford, who was the longtime athletic trainer for OU. So this new guy, I don't even remember his name. I feel kind of bad, but it just looks bad. I'm sure he's a great athletic trainer, but man, did these injuries hurt this year. But at the same time, you can't have it happen. And you guys all like to tweet and say the Chokeland thing, and I can't defend it. Until we win when it matters, I can't defend it. We haven't gone to the tournament since 2011 when we were in the Summit. This is the year to do it.
And as a beneficiary of your team committing El Foldo, I'd like to say thank you.
You know, but on that, you know, and just coming off the last topic about, you know, what's the league going to be like next year? Obviously, we lose so much, so it looks bad. I'm actually one of the few people that's excited about OU next year. I think Oakland will do better without any expectations, first off. And I think we're going to be very, very big in the front court. We return a couple players from redshirt. We have a 6'11", 260-pound freshman coming in that is kind of an unknown that could be really awesome, or it could be one of those big guys you look at like, what just happened? I'm not sure, but if he can play, I love the idea that we're not going to be a streaky shooting team anymore, but maybe actually grind it out down low, where those are the games I think that Oakland loses right now. When we can't shoot, and we're a shooting team, that's what Campy does. But I think it's going to change for next year.
So in terms of the rest of the league, do you think it's better next year?
No, I don't.
Really? What makes you say that?
I think the anchors are still going to be real low. Obviously, I don't think we're going to be as good as we were, or even supposed to be the past couple of years. So I think we'll be down. I think the lows are just going to be that much lower. I think Wright State will have another good year, but just a lot of transfers, a lot of things where I think we're going to be about where we were as a conference. I don't think we're better. I don't know if we're worse necessarily, but I don't see the improvement that some of you guys do.
Well, it'll be easier to tell when the schedules come out.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to get the last word here. And yes, I honestly do think the league is going to be better next year. I am not as high on Oakland next year, but I am obviously much higher on Cleveland State. Like, as I mentioned the last episode, the greatest gift Gary Waters gave Dennis Felton roster turnover, because he got 16 years. They're all gone. Felton's is able to bring in his own people now, as opposed to 2 or 3 years from now. So that's going to be an interesting thing. I want to hope that their tournament run wasn't a fluke. I'm hoping it isn't. But I definitely don't. I don't see them doing as badly. Wright State, I think, is going to have a solid year. Ricky, I'm not going to miss Grant Benzinger only because he gave me headaches. I think Green Bay does better this year. Does better next year. Sorry, Chad. I don't know what I'm still a little shaky on Milwaukee too. So,
well, there's going to be a lot of new players.
Yeah. So,
but we still have Spell and Bell. So
this is true. Sorry, and Detroit Mercy is just going to be, it's going to be a wreck next year, and yeah, there's just no way getting around that. But I think from top to bottom, I believe that top to bottom, or at least for the top 7 or 8 teams, I see some improvement, and I actually do see some improvement within on the Youngstown State side. Again, as somebody who is desperately looking for that Cleveland State Youngstown State rivalry, that's my expectation. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and close this whole entire thing out. I'd like to thank all of you for being good sports and being, having a great conversation here. Again, no blood was spilled, so that's always awesome. Well, so I thank you all for your time, and tune in next time for another episode of the Horizon Roundtable, and feel free look for us on sportshax.com, sportshax.com, and you can find us wherever you find podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, iTunes, you name it.